Hello, and welcome back to Weekly Polls Pick of the Week, episode number 75. My name's Mike, and I'm here with Steve, and we've got Jared here for our special 75th episode. Before we get into what we've read and our picks, I thought we'd discuss something that occurred to me recently. So I'll just a question for you two, and then I'll answer as well. But what do you think about holiday themed comics? I'm bringing it up because, well, I'll just say I'm bringing it up because I've had a few Valentine's themed comics that I did not expect. But what do you think overall about this approach that's done and we see in comics a lot?
Go ahead, Jared.
Pressure's on. All right. Generally, thumbs down. I don't. That used to be bigger back in the old days. Marvel and DC used to do it all the time, and that always seemed to kind of interrupt the flow of the regular ongoing story. And a lot of times they would have fill-in artists, and I get you had to do that sometimes to give artists a break, and I guess those themed comics were a good excuse to do that. But in general, I prefer not to see them. But I have been called a Scrooge, so,
Yeah, I agree. I think if it's a kind of like a one-off, or if it takes you away from the whatever storyline is going on, it's kind of like a wasted month because you get involved, you get invested in a story, and then we'd have kind of a detour for a month for some story that doesn't really matter in the big scheme of things. But also even things like the Deviant that is based around Christmas time.
Yeah,
it's been going for over a year now. And I think if you base a story in a certain time of year, then it's good to kind of either start or wrap it up in that time of year. Mm-hmm. It's weird to be too invested in a Christmas story in July, So not the biggest fan. I think it can be okay when used the right way, but it's rarely. What really bothers me is when they have DC did the whole horror. I forget what it was called, the horror thing in summertime, the horror event. Just wait till fall and then do something horror themed. But I'm a Scrooge too, so.
Steve, I've heard you say that we shouldn't just do horror during October as well, but
yeah,
so be years ago on one of your podcasts, but not to call you out or anything.
Oh no, not at all.
Because I like to read horror. I'm reading horror quite a bit in these comics, and I actually don't mind too much. But the thing that got me this time is Valentine themed comics, and I was just like, please, no, we don't need to go there really. And but it's not to say that those stories were bad or whatever. The next thing is going to be St. Patrick's Day, and pretty soon we're going to have Groundhog Day and Arbor Day themed. And a lot of that is really like marketing, or it's based on Hallmark cards or whatever. So I don't know. Anyway, but that's. I'm glad. I think we're all in unison on that one.
Yeah, I think the Valentine's Day stuff is a little weird because it has to be a romance, where you can incorporate things like horror or even Christmas or other holidays. You can incorporate them in a certain way, but with Valentine's Day, you have to have a love story, right? There has to be some kind of, I guess you could make this some kind of twisted story about something else. Yeah. But yeah, I think if you are going to have a theme, if you're going to have a themed event or a themed book for a holiday, do it around that holiday, if that's your goal. But again, I'm a Scrooge, so whatever.
But and I would say there's a little difference between a horror book and a Halloween focused book, you know, for the holiday. Yeah,
sure. Good point.
Yeah, thanks, Jared, for coming to my defense there. After Mike and his ruthless attacks. Calling me out. So with that, I get to spread the call outs to the first book on the list. And unless there's something else, any holiday comments. I'm glad this last holiday is over. We have a break from holidays for a while. So the first book on the list for me is Absolute Batman #5. I'm kind of surprised neither of you read this one. Actually, probably shouldn't be surprised. So I'm not a huge fan of the series. I'll say this again. I was hoping for an Elseworld story that's different, that takes a different take on the character. This one just isn't different enough for me to become invested in it. And it's also uneven because the artwork, it's very Frank Miller-esque, and there's a lot of violence in it. And I've said before that I think especially Scott Snyder has this really strict Batman doesn't kill thing, but he beats the shit out of a lot of people, and he bloodies them up and does some other things to them that it's like this. A lot of these people you're beating up, may not make it, but the artwork and the kind of the theme can be very violent, but then kind of the story and the dialogue, there's some goofy stuff in this book that just didn't make sense, and it just doesn't. Yeah, it just was kind of silly. So yeah, it's very uneven to me. Like, either go a certain direction if he's going to be violent and kind of, more on the gory side, even if he doesn't kill people, maybe take your story that direction and make, kind of make it a little darker. It doesn't have to go full dark, but when you do kind of silly things with the story, and I guess it's a way to kind of ham it up and to be silly, but it felt very uneven to me, and I'm not the biggest fan of Absolute Batman. I know a lot of people love it. It's close to me throwing in the towel on this series.
Well, that's what I've done. After #4, I threw in the towel, so that's why I didn't continue.
Right with you, Mike. I also threw in the towel.
I couldn't. The last one that I read just, to me, was, well, a question for you, Steve. Was the artwork similar to what we saw in #4, which was like really, like almost like an indie comic, or did they go back to what they were doing?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty consistent. Batman is this huge, imposing figure. He looks like a Lego man, and just the whole story just seems very off to me. Because if Bruce Wayne is a millionaire, then he has the resources to have all this equipment. If he's a poor college student or a poor, up and coming engineer or whatever, I don't think he'd have a lot of disposable income for all this, these toys. So the decisions he makes are just kind of strange. But yeah, I guess you just have to go with it. I mean, we're talking about a guy who dresses up as a bat and fights crime at night, so you can't be too picky. I mean, it is what it is.
Okay, well, the first one I have, and you covered it last time, Steve, is Hello Darkness #7, and this is the Valentine themed. I think it's called the Love Issue or something like that. And one of the stories is LOVE. So anyway, I will say, it's lacking the story that we've been really enjoying, or at least appreciating, because it's very dark, which is, now I'm forgetting the name, but it's the one that Garth Ennis and Becky Cloonan, The War, the one that they're doing. But I actually liked, there was one that I really liked, and then there were a few that were okay, and then two others that I thought were decent. Sometimes it's hard to end these things, when it's like 4 or 6, 4 to 6 pages. Like, sometimes it's like the end, things are going well, and then the ending is like, okay, that's really abrupt or whatever. But I really did like the one by Maria Lovett, and I think it's called Words in the Smoke. I thought that one was really haunting and well done, and creepy. But yeah, just to say, this was what got me going on the topic of the day, which was like, do we really need a Valentine themed issue? But I know we just talked about all that stuff, but it's just, that's what really got me going. And I really don't think they need to do that because it doesn't make me want to buy it. I really appreciate it's like, the first one in here, the artwork and the coloring is really jumps off the page. And that's LOVE, written by Ethan Parker and art by Edison Neo. I have to call it out because I thought that was really, really good. I'm not saying that the story was great; it was okay, but anyway, I'm okay with it. I think we're anxiously awaiting the next and what we think is going to be the final issue that ends the war. So, but I might have liked it a little bit more than you, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it too much, but you definitely feel the absence because every time I get a Hello Darkness book, I'm flipping through to that story first and then going back and reading the rest. So it definitely felt a little empty, but it wasn't bad. It's just, there's so many anthology books out now that you really have to stand out because, as we'll probably talk later about kind of, how many books are out now and decisions we have to make on what to buy, what not to buy. It's tough because you can only read, you want to mix things up a little bit. So the war is definitely something to get you to slap down a few bucks for the cover price.
Absolutely. Maybe we're just old and jaded. We don't like Valentine's Day.
Probably.
Maybe.
I have, for my first book, is The Seasons, #1 by Rick Remender and Paul Azaceta. I don't know if you guys read this or not. Yeah, Mike read this.
Yeah, I read
Steve.
it.
Oh, both of you guys, yeah. I'm not sure what you guys thought, but I thought the book was well done. I thought the clowns were creepy, and the circus, whatever it is, were creepy, and it was he had the clever use of the sisters with their names and stuff like that, and there's something special about them. Not exactly sure what it is. Most of the issue was kind of this chase scene, where she's chasing down a letter that's been being blown in the wind, and there was a lot of chaos, a lot of jumping around, and a lot of super bright colors. So even though the book was well done, I thought it didn't really appeal to me that much. I don't think there was quite enough to grab me story-wise, and the style and tone just doesn't quite do it for me. I didn't, like I said, I thought it was well done for what it was, but I'm not sure if it's something that's gonna grab me going forward. I know Rick Remender has done some great stuff, and so I kind of want to trust his process, but I mean, he just might be doing a different kind of book that's not gonna appeal to me. But this one really didn't do it for me that much. Like I said, it was well done, and it was nothing particularly wrong with it. But I thought the chase scene went on way too long with the with the chaos, with following the letter through the wind, and I think a little more could have been done there. But not bad, but not quite my thing. I don't know what you guys thought.
Good, Mike.
Oh yeah, no, I think it was a pick of the week for me, but it wasn't a strong week, so it was not a strong pick. I liked the artwork. Maybe it reminded me of like some French style, like Toulouse-Lautrec or something. I'm not an art expert by any stretch of the imagination, but that scene, the long scene with the letter, just reminded me of like a Tom and Jerry cartoon or something like,
Sure.
so I just kind of took it for that, but I could see a lot of people like I think my comment was I can't see a lot of people really getting into this yet. I think it's the first issue, so we'll see where it goes. I think he's trying to be playful, but it's definitely, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually started it and I haven't finished it. I got a few pages in. The story and the style and tone, and like similar to you, Jared, it just didn't really pull me in. It just felt not for me. I guess it just kind of just didn't grab me. But like I said, it's Remender, so it can't be bad. But it's just one of those things where I can see. I'll finish it eventually, but I just didn't. I started it and thought, I don't know, I just don't feel like reading this right now, and hadn't come back to it. So,
yeah, definitely, I picked it up because of Remender.
Me too.
The cover didn't it wasn't one of those things that would have drawn me in normally.
Mm-hmm.
It's just his name, really.
even the title didn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, it's amazing how we find an artist or an author that we enjoy, and we'll just pick it up even if it doesn't look like it's for us because it's name recognition.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we've been pretty lucky with like Geiger.
Yeah.
Because I see his name, I pick it up. It's automatic.
Yeah.
But we've been pretty lucky that it's been all pretty damn good. So.
All good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one for me is one that I shouldn't have bought, but I did. I don't know why. Which is Standstill 7. What the hell happened to this book? This book started out as kind of a fun, intriguing story. I liked the plot. It could have gone a lot of different ways. The change in artist, I believe it was halfway through issue 5. This book has fallen off a cliff. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with it. It went from this really sleek and bold and like vibrant artwork to this really shaky. It looks like something like it's the style for the artist, but when you go from a certain style and you change over, and I think I know why it changed. I think they did it on purpose to signify a change in the story. Maybe that's why they chose to do it at that point. But it's just very jarring still, and it looks like everyone's melting. It looks like everyone's a wax figure that's melting in the sun, and if it started out with this artist, it would have been different, I think. But when the artwork is such a draw, it's such an integral part of the story, and you format the book a certain way to really showcase the artwork, and then you change the artist, I think it's a disservice to the artists, both artists, and the story, because it's not good, and everything just feels drastically different on this book. And I can't remember a last time that a book has fallen off so quickly the way this one has. Just seems like halfway through an issue, it just completely changed. So, yeah. I think the next one's the last one. I just don't even care. I regret buying this one, and it's a shame because I think the story had a lot of potential.
I think you said it all, Steve. I don't know what the heck happened. So if you go back to the first issue, first of all, it's like 40 pages. So like they're really setting you up for something. And there are many like full splash pages. Like there's like 7 or 8 that are just, whatever, like one single panel. Sometimes they're doing something with the visuals, the artwork. It's really showcasing. It almost looks like everything is like cover art quality. And then they change it to this. I was just like, that is a huge, it was a huge miss, I think, for me too. Like, I just don't know what the heck. I even talked to the comic book store owner or one of the guys, and I was just like, did you see what happened here? Anyway, but he didn't. He thought it was something else. So he's like, yeah, I did, but I knew quickly that he didn't know what I was talking about. But anyway.
I wonder what he thought you were talking about.
No, I can't remember now, but anyway.
It's too bad.
Okay, so I guess I'm up next. and I'm happy to say I'm continuing with Geiger. This is number 11. I feel like it comes out every other week. It seems like it's much more frequent than almost everything else that I read. And so for me, this seemed like a return to form for some. There was a while there where I was like really liking this, and then I would say the last 4 or 5 months, it kind of took a dip, and then I think it's kind of just for whatever reason, it's just improved. And there's a new character that's introduced that we've kind of been waiting for here. I probably don't need to give it away, and the character is very intriguing. Kind of has a lot of similarities to the main character, so you're kind of answers a few questions, and then there's a flash. The flashbacks are done here. They're done very well, and just kind of add more depth to the main character. Geiger, who also goes by the name of Tarek. And he's like a family man, and kind of goes through like different decisions that he's made, which I really do. I thought that was done very well. And I think Gary Frank was not the artist for a while, and he's back. And it to me it shows, and I wonder if it has something to do with the collaboration between him and Jeff Johns, because I think things are gelling better. I don't know how. I can't imagine. I don't want to pretend to know how that partnership works together, but it just seemed like it helped to right the ship, because I'm sure that they collaborate a lot on how things kind of play out or whatever. So to me, that just shows that this, the duo, the original duo that started the series they were there for a reason. So this was almost a pick of the week for me.
I've been hearing a ton about Geiger. It was on the top lists of a lot of people that I kind of watch on YouTube, or a lot of podcasts and articles and stuff, blogs. And it's on a lot of lists as the best of. I need to get on that. I think I might try and get the trades and catch up, because everyone raves about that series.
I read that volume 1. The volume 1 is really good, and then there's like offshoot stuff that I have not read. So I wonder if people are liking the other stuff. There's other spin-off characters or whatever, and even in this one, there's one that come back, but we learn more about the character. His name is Junkyard Joe. He's like a robot. We learn more about him. It's kind of an interesting character. So I thought it was going to go off the rails, but I'm happy.
All right. Next up, I got Absolute Superman number 4. And I know, Steve, I think this was your pick of the week last week.
I could feel the judgment.
No,
it was kind of a slow week. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was a slow week, but it was a good issue though. It was a solid issue. I really like how they opened it with the different perspectives, and how Superman wasn't even really in it that much. It was more Lois Lane and her dealings with the company that she's kind of with and against at the same time. And I just kind of like that whole perspective, how that went about. And I think it's kind of different from, unlike the Batman and Wonder Woman Absolute books, this one is the most different from the actual regular DC universe books. And I think that gives it just that little bit of edge that we were kind of looking for from an Elseworld type story, that it beats out the other two. And so I'm actually very interested to see the next issue. I don't know if it's going to stop after that, or if it's a limited series, or if this one's been picked up as a regular series as well.
I can look that up. I believe the Batman series is ongoing, but let me look up Absolute Superman.
Yeah, I mean, but that wouldn't bother me. It wouldn't bother me if it was a limited series, and if it wraps up in a good way, I would be satisfied with that. And yeah.
Oh, it is ongoing.
Oh, it is, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see how ongoing I am, but for now, I'm definitely going to check out the next issue, because this one still has its hooks on me. The other two I can live without, but this one still has got its hooks on me. And you mentioned the artwork by Sandoval. I think it's pretty spectacular as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think he does, like, it is very Jim Lee-ish, and that wouldn't surprise me if that's completely on purpose. And but I also liked a lot of his panel layouts and stuff, and
yeah,
it was a pleasant read. It was good to look at, and I found it surprisingly. I was kind of down going in because of Batman, and the Wonder Woman the Wonder Woman book is okay, but
yeah,
it's just okay. It's not, it didn't have the edge that this one has. So I'll stick with this
one. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it. I was a little worried. Yeah, I do like that they are taking kind of a different direction with him, and at least opening the door for things to happen, and just exploring the character a little bit. Because even if he doesn't go a certain direction, at least they're toying around with the idea. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
So at least there's that. And it looks like, let's see. Oh, my turn. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, I was like, everyone's quiet. Okay, so the next one for me is actually two. I just combined these two. I was catching up on the series. This is Violator, issues 4 and 5. Now, Violator has pretty much become Lobo, like Lobo when he does like off the wall stuff, who wears people's skin. Well, that's not a bad thing necessarily. It does get a little old after over 30 pages. Some of these were a little longer. Don't get me wrong, the art's beautiful. I love the artwork in both issues, but it just doesn't. I don't know. The series started out with kind of like we're diving into some biblical stuff, kind of interweaving into some biblical stories, kind of tying him into some stories that we've all heard at some point in time, and kind of playing around with those ideas. And now it's just Violator going around being an asshole. And I guess it's okay. It's not bad. I wish there was more substance. It's felt a little bit uneven. It started out a little more serious, a little bit more taking itself a little bit more seriously, but now it's kind of just Violator going wild and doing crazy stuff. So it's fine, but I was hoping for more, for them to take it a little bit more seriously. And I think there are different writers and artists through each books. That might be why. But overall, the series feels a little bit uneven.
Now, is this part of that kind of the Spawn universe reboot, or is this something that's its own thing?
Yeah, well, Violator had a run-in issue 350 for Spawn, so it is kind of tied into that. But it was supposed to be his origin story, and his origin is told in issue 1, and even in issue 2, I believe there's some stuff in issue 2. But after that, it kind of just goes him going through different time periods, being a dick. So it's kind of just his whole spiel is just kind of wreaking havoc, which is fine, but it is what it is. So yeah.
Okay. So the next one for me is Magic Order number 4. The thing about it is it says Magic Order 5. I think it's because this is volume 5. Anyway, so speaking of origin stories, we get an origin story about the character Clyde. Who's this? I actually thought this was really well done and really bizarre and interesting. So he's like this magician character that is inhabited by these three demons that over time, they caused him kind of like saved his life and caused him to do all these terrible things, but over time he kind of like tames them. I think that's probably been well established in this series, but I thought I didn't feel like I was lost or anything compared to some of the other, because I've not read the first 4 volumes or whatever. I just thought that was really interesting. And then it kind of moves into present day and what's happening. And you really get the sense that there is this really vast scope to this series, and the magic abilities of these people, and also just maybe the universe is really wide sweeping. So I don't know. I it's kind of like in the really on the fence with this one at the beginning, but I feel like I want to go back and read these initial volumes and get caught up. I also really like the artwork, except for one small thing: is the artist. I should find the artist's name. This artist is Matteo Buffagni. Has a habit of making people's eyes kind of like opaque, and I don't know. There's something about it. It's just maybe that's a thing that I just don't understand, but it doesn't always work for me for some reason. But overall, again, is another enjoyable read for me.
Cool.
I was a little worried about that series. I was enjoying it, but I wasn't over. It was like, should I pick it up? So, would you recommend? Sounds like you enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a little bit lost, but not so bad that I'm like, oh, I'm not going to continue with this because I'm just so clueless with what's going on. I did go onto Wikipedia and kind of looked up some of these characters. I don't know if that's something people should do. But I, just to kind of get their background, I don't recommend that to people. But it helped me to understand like a little bit of the broader, like, who are these people and why is it the Magic Order and all of that. But I don't think anything was really spoiled for me or whatever. But there's some, so if you're not into that, I know that's not always your thing, Steve, and same for me, the continuity, but I'm enjoying it.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm not I don't mind Mark Millar, but he's pretty. I don't think he's been a whole lot of misses. At least you know what you're getting into with him. So
he must care about the series because he's sticking with it for this many volumes, and some others they just do maybe an initial brief run and then hand it off to somebody else. But that's not the case here.
Yeah.
Good. My next book here is The Sacrifices, a favorite among our crew here. Number 14. And this was an interesting issue because it focuses on a character that kind of had a fall from grace, previously. And oddly enough, this one also had a circus of its sorts, just like Rimerden's other book this week. I was talking about the seasons. This one as well had a evil circus, and I was like, "What's going on here with Remender? He's kind of repeating himself a little bit." But as always, the artwork by Fiu Mara is just outstanding. I just love his artwork. I think he's doing a great job. And I the story is going along at a pace that just fits with the rest of the stories, the rest of the books, and I really enjoyed this. And I know somebody else might be talking about this later on, so I'll just leave it at that. That it's another solid issue in this run, and if anybody has not read this is probably one of the better books going on today. So do yourself a favor and pick it up.
Yeah, if you're not reading the series, then go get it. Give issue 1 a shot at least, and just try it. It's worth it. So, but Michael have more to say maybe about that.
I'll share more a little bit later.
Yeah. All right. So the next one for me is Life number 4. This is by Distillery, and this is a series that I believe the two of you told me about and kind of turned me on to, and I've really enjoyed it. It's subverted my expectations. I didn't know what to expect, but I do like kind of what they're doing with it. I'd like the story and kind of the unexpected twists and turns that you didn't really see coming. This issue was maybe my least favorite one of the series. It wasn't bad. There wasn't a whole lot there, and I think part of it is that there's been some time between releases that I forget what happened in the last issue. So I think I need to go back and reread all of them in order again, just to kind of catch myself back up. So, like I said, it wasn't a bad issue. It was in contention for my pick of the week, but the series has been pretty stellar so far. Hasn't been on that level. It's good, but not over the moon. So yeah, this one was good. The story moves along a little bit. We find some character motivations. We find some other things out about the prisoners on the planet and kind of what they've been through the years. But yeah, I still love the series. I think it's really, really creative, and the artwork typically isn't something I would enjoy. It's very, I don't mean this in an insulting way, but it's very simple, very minimal, like minimalist, really bold lines. But I love the way they use color through the different scenes, and there's just enough to kind of convey the story. So it all works. Good stuff.
I haven't seen this one yet, so I had to pick it up.
Yeah, I had a very similar take on this one, Steve. The issue I had is maybe this is what you were alluding to. I could not remember the names of the characters and who was doing what, so a little to an extent. But also, characters don't always have a long shelf life. They don't seem to always stick around so much either in this series, which is kind of interesting. But I pretty much agree with you with what you said.
That's a great point too. I think the characters don't have a long shelf life, and some of them, their deaths weren't really. They're not as impactful. Like we didn't learn enough about them to care about them too much, like to become too invested. So it is like, oh, that person's dead. So it would just kind of. But I feel like it's supposed to be more impactful. Like, oh crap, that person's dead. Holy shit! But it's not kind of like, oh, okay, he's dead. So it doesn't really have the impact because they aren't earned quite yet. But it could be because there's been so much time between, and if you read them in order, you'll know who's who, and that's the kind of the pitfalls of monthly books or by every couple months. So all those things.
Yeah, especially when you're putting out such a big project like this one, like the whole magazine size, extra length. That's something else. It's a lot of work. Yeah. So next, I have almost my pick of the week again. The anthology Cruel Kingdom number 2 by who puts this out? I think it's Oni. Yeah, Oni Press, but it's through their entertainment comic imprint. And this is once again a fantasy anthology, and once again just another issue of solid short stories that that had some good artwork and some interesting, twisty little tales in there that I enjoyed a lot. And I especially enjoyed the artwork in the middle tale here by Andrea Moody, and it was written by Steve Niles. So you got some big names in here. The last story was drawn by David Lapham of Stray Bullets fames, and so that was actually quite a treat as well. I really like his stuff, and I just really enjoyed these little short stories that doesn't take long to read them, but they're involved enough to get you invested, and they have a pretty neat payoff at the end. Some people might think it's a little too quick, but I don't know. I think it's kind of just right for an anthology type thing like this, and another solid issue. I'm really glad they're doing this, and I hope they continue with the quality of creators that they've brought on, and continue to do a bang up job of and a great cover too. By the way, I don't know who did it, but these covers have been fantastic. I'm trying to look who it was, but Adam Paulina, so, outstanding cover by him. But, yeah, Cruel Kingdom #2. So if you like fantasy and or if you like anthologies or both, then you definitely want to be picking this series up.
That's two of you that have recommended this, and I've yet to pick it up. And I think it's because I read something else that was the same publisher, but I did not like it. It looked kind of similar, so I was like, eh. But now I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah, they have other topics with the EC logo on it. But they're, one's like horror, one's crime, or something like that. So there's different genres and stuff.
I think one of them is called Epitaphs from the Abyss, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think that sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, that cover is very cool. I love that cover.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. The skull castle.
It's so cool.
It's really cool.
So cool. So onward to our picks, and Mike, you're gonna start us off.
Okay, well, it's already been mentioned. I've got Sacrificers #14. It's not been a pick of the week for me for a little while. I know, Steve, it usually is up there for you. As Jared said, we kind of get the circus scene, but it's almost like that was a return from, I think, issue #2 or 3, and those are these like really creepy characters that entice children to be sacrificed, that kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, maybe I'm giving something away, but it is from early on in the series. And so it's like, that just gives you this sense of just like spine tingling, goodness or horror or terror. I don't know what you want to call it. I think I have to say, I think I'm interested maybe a little bit more in this character, which her name is Soluna, and we hadn't seen her for a while, so I was really happy to kind of revisit her story because it's pretty wild. And so we do get some answers about what's going on with her. But the star of the show, Jared, you said it, the artwork for me and the coloring is 10 out of 10. In addition, there's some expertly crafted juxtaposition of narrative, which is, they're usually like these, what's kind of describing what's going on in the scene, or maybe some historical event that's being told while we're seeing different action unfold in the panels accompanied with dialogue. And to me, that's just being done in a way that I'm like, wow, something about how that's being done. It's working almost cinematically for me. It's helping me to really immerse into the story, and it's maybe not something I've always picked up on, but I think it's been there for a lot of these issues. And so, yeah, this was an easy pick of the week for me. And the subtitle of this, I don't know if you call it a sub-series, is No Light Beyond. And the next one, the final one, is coming up next. So this is number 3 of 4 in that, whatever you call it, chapter.
Yeah, storyline. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. The thematic subtext of the story he's telling in the narrative boxes compared to the story going on in the artwork are, they're thematically related, and that's what really pushes this one over the edge. I didn't feel that kind of power and stuff in his other book, the Seasons. You feel it in this one, and even though I hate clowns and circuses,
they're not meant to be
but
friendly
they were
characters.
already, but they were already, like you said, they were already set up as something creepy to begin with at the beginning of the series, and so you already had that expectation. You already had that going in, and but I mean, the only drawback I could see with this issue was it was a little predictable. You kind of knew that she was going to do her thing by the end there, so you could see that coming the whole way. Like, you knew it was going to happen. But like you said, it was just done so beautifully that I didn't care. It was just, it was done so well.
Such a good book.
It is a great book. Yeah. All right. You're all set, Mike?
Yep.
Okay. So
Go read Sacrificers. I need to listen.
Yes, anybody. Yes. My pick of the week was Dust to Dust #2 by J.G. Jones and Phil Bram from Image Comics. And I don't know if you guys have read this or not, but I have been enjoying this book a lot. And I don't know if it's a setting, and I don't know if it's the sepia tone quality of the artwork that draws me in with the dust and all that stuff. But I think they're doing a really nice slow burn here of a story, and I like how it's not this super fast-paced thing that you have to, that you're flipping the pages. I'm taking my time. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the artwork. I'm reading the dialogue nice and slow, and I'm just absorbing everything they're doing with the characters and the character work, and just how they're really, like, I feel like I know this sheriff guy already, and I feel like I know this reporter because they're just really developing them well, I think. And we do get a little exciting dust storm in here. We get a little hint of some kind of fantasy dreaming thing going on in the middle, which is enticing because I just don't know how real that is, or if it's just metaphorical, or just in somebody's head or something. But we're getting a taste of something, and I like it how it's just a hint, and how the story just slowly draw me on, and we get a little mystery at the end, and the reporter's there, and she's gonna delve into it and take pictures, and I just thought it's a beautiful book, and I'm glad to get something that's not trying to rush me along to the next one, and where you can enjoy a whole issue for what it is, and there's something coming, but I'll be glad when it gets here. But I was glad to be in the now in the issue I was reading, and just beautiful look at it.
Yeah, it was I think Mike read. I think it was your pick too, Mike. Right, Mike? I think it was your pick.
Well, I read #1, but I never read #2. So.
Oh, gotcha.
I liked it.
Number 2 is really good too. And the photo referencing I mentioned in the first issue, the photo referencing was a little bit distracting, but I didn't get that at all in the second issue. I'm not sure why, but maybe I just adjusted to it. But yeah, great. It's a really strange stuff going on. So I'm wondering what's going to happen. But yeah, a great book.
I hope they keep up with it. I hope it's not one of those creative ones that kind of fall by the wayside. I hope they keep up their schedule and come to a good conclusion. I don't know if it's how limited it is. I don't know how long it's supposed to go, but
yeah.
So far, so good.
It's really tough because to have a slow burn of a comic when you want to hook your readers pretty quickly, it takes some nerve to do that, and to take that chance and to bet on yourself like that. Yeah. I think one of the main reasons or the main goals must be to stay consistent and to not delay. Because if you are having a slow burn, don't wait 2 issues between and be consistent with it. Otherwise, people will lose interest. But it is an 8-issue series.
Yeah. I just looked that up too.
Excellent. No, that feels right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With the pace we're going, where we are in issue 2. If this was a 4-issue series, they'll be like, oh, they're going to wrap it up too fast. You know? So I'm like, 8 feels that. I'm glad you said that. That actually feels good.
Yeah. Really good stuff. All right. So my pick, this one, I really missed this book, which is Into the End Being. This is part 2, issue 1. Now, a quick background on the story. It's about a group of people who are testing the environment. The world, the Earth is kind of a wasteland. They're trying to help save it. There's different people from different backgrounds trying to find more information about a certain area, and it's basically a mix between Area X, Vandermeer's Area X, or for those of you who have seen the movie Annihilation, and The Descent. It's that if they had a love baby, that would be Into the End Being, their love child. And it keeps getting creepier. We do have some deaths, but there's not as many characters that when characters do die or are injured, they're still talked about after they're gone, and they still have an impact, even if they aren't on the page, so that they're still remembered. In this issue, we do get some background on other people who have been in this area. I think by now, people reading it know what this area is and what we're dealing with. But we do get someone who has been there in the past. We find their diary, so to speak, and we go back and hear their experience. And there's some really dark. It goes pretty dark, and it kind of creeps up on you, and it's very effective. It's very disturbing, not in a gory kind of way. It's just in a, oh man, like that's messed up kind of way. So yeah, it kind of messed with me for a little bit, but yeah, there's lots of tension in the group. You really feel the tension. The whole book is really chilling. It's the artwork and the colors. They all work with the story. They all give you a feeling. Again, the colors are a big part of the book and how they convey feelings in different areas of that the group travels to. So yeah, all in all, if you love or if you enjoyed The Descent or Annihilation, Area X, I think you'll probably enjoy Into the End Being.
Part 1, how many issues was that?
Oh, I'll find out right now.
Or
I would love, yeah.
Is there a trade or?
I think so. I just saw that there is one online. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a part 1. I can see how long it is going to go. While I do that, I don't see I'm guessing it's limited, but I don't see how long it's going to be offhand, but I'll add it to the show notes. So before we as we finish up our episode here, wanted to mention we were discussing before we started recording about going back and rereading kind of classic runs and reading an issue a week of a classic run that we can all get on Hoopla or a library app we can read for free. And also for any readers who want to read with us, it makes it more convenient to be able to do that without a monetary investment. So if you have any ideas of run that you would recommend to us to look into that is available on an app we can get for free, we can all read together, one issue a week, it might be good to mix it up a little bit to read a kind of one of these really high profile runs and mix it in with newer stuff, because sometimes the pickings are kind of slim and it's nice to have something to fall back on and go back and read an old run and kind of read it week to week. And I think that might be fun. So if anybody has any suggestions, please reach out to us. There is a link in the description below to send us a message, or you can always join our forum at pagejoin.com and send us a DM or post it there on our forum to recommend whatever book you think would work well for that format. Of course, right away my mind goes to the Claremont X-Men stuff, because that's, I don't know if that's available anywhere, but we're open to any suggestions, preferably something that we can get for free, we can all read together, and read, and listeners can also read with us.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah. I'm open to things that I might have missed out on, because there's a pretty big gap for me that I'm probably. Jared, you might have even. There's probably a bunch of stuff that you could recommend as well, but I'm also open to like stuff that maybe isn't as well known, but it's just like, for just very well executed, but maybe never got maybe it's not Marvel or DC or whatever, but I'm honestly open to anything.
Yeah, I think we'll come up so we can look on different apps and see what we can find. But there's so many great runs of so many different.
Yeah, and there's even stuff I have read I've forgotten. So
yeah. Yeah, and plus when you read it, there's so many things that go into your enjoyment of what you're reading, what's going on in your own life and just your mindset at the time. So when you go back and reread things later, years later, you have a different take on it. So it's always fun to find something that you really enjoy 15, 20 years ago, and you go back and reread it now, and kind of see how it hits, and maybe it just maybe it's a banger or maybe it's a dud. So yeah, it's fun. So cool. So episode 75 is in the bag. Jared, where can people find you?
You can find me at the Fantasy Thinker YouTube channel, and you can find me on the podcast Speculative Speculations and some other fine podcasts here on Page Chewing as well.
Yeah. There's no shortage of podcasts, so we are
not at all. Check out the Oscar project that you and I do, Steve. We're having fun with that one.
Yeah, we are having fun. Lots of movies I would have never watched otherwise.
Absolutely right. Yep.
Yeah. The Apartment, I still think The Apartment is one of my favorites. 1960, Oscar's Best Picture. Really charming, fun movie. Just great movie.
Yeah,
so I'm glad
it's going to be hard to top that one, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Just because of the surprise factor how much I loved it.
Get really good stuff. And cool. So we've 75 issues in. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting closer.
It's 75 issues. How many volumes is that?
Yeesh. But like 6 in volume. We're nearing omnibus territory, I think, right?
Definitely.
What's the podcast equivalent of trade paperback?
I think we're on trade 8 or 9 by now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Of course, if you have any other suggestions for us, we're always all ears and would like to hear it. So hope everyone is doing well. Enjoy your reads, and we will talk to everyone very soon.
Bye-bye.